Good morning, welcome to the Daily News Podcast. Today is May 29th, 2026.
The top story this morning. The White House says the U.S. and Iran are very close to a deal, but not there yet. Vice President Vance says key approvals are still pending. So this is one of those moments where diplomacy looks promising, but the gap between promising and finished is still a dangerous one. Markets are watching because any deal could ease pressure on oil and lower the risk of a wider regional blowup after the latest fighting.
And that phrase, very close but not there yet, is doing a lot of work. We've seen plenty of near deals in this region fall apart at the last minute. Staying in the Middle East, Israel says Prime Minister Netanyahu has ordered the military to seize 70% of Gaza, a huge escalation that would make any ceasefire effort even harder. At the same time, Gaza City hospitals are reporting more deaths from strikes that were apparently aimed at Hamas leaders, and Israel also says it carried out a targeted strike in Beirut, raising pressure on Hezbollah despite the ceasefire framework there. Put that together, and you've got a conflict that is widening geographically and deepening politically, with civilians once again caught in the middle.
Right, and every expansion like this makes diplomacy more fragile. It also raises the odds that neighboring fronts stop being separate stories. In Europe, a Russian drone reportedly crashed into an apartment building in Romania, injuring 2 people. That matters because Romania is NATO territory, so even if this was spillover from an attack on Ukraine, it lands in a much more sensitive category. Romanian forces responded, and the incident is another reminder that the line between war next door and war crossing a border is getting thinner.
That's exactly the fear. A single drone can suddenly turn a regional war into a much broader security crisis. Moving to business, Dell shares soared after the company sharply raised its sales outlook on booming demand for AI servers. This is one of the clearest signs yet that the AI build-out is translating into old-school hardware money, and a lot of it. But there's a catch. Server maker Ywan says the AI supply crunch could drag on into 2027 or even 2028, meaning demand is strong, but parts, capacity, and costs are still major bottlenecks.
So the AI boom is real, but it's not smooth. Companies want the gear now, and the supply chain is basically saying, get in line. On the tech side, Anthropic has unveiled Claude Opus 4.8, pitching better performance and a new dynamic workflow system for coordinating subagents. That lands at the same time as reports of an enormous new funding round valuing Anthropic at roughly $965 billion, just shy of the $1 trillion mark. The message is pretty obvious. The frontier AI race is still accelerating, and investors are still willing to pour staggering amounts of cash into the labs they think can win.
And that number is wild even by AI standards. It tells you the market still believes the biggest model companies could become foundational infrastructure businesses. Also in AI, AWS rolled out a rebuilt OpenSearch serverless aimed at agentic AI workloads, with a big pitch around instant scaling and lower cost. It also launched a new resilience hub with generative AI features for site reliability teams, including failure analysis and dependency mapping. Translation: cloud giants are no longer just selling compute, they're selling the full operating system for AI-powered software teams.
And that's where the money compounds. Not just the model, but the tools around it, the reliability layer, and the workflow stack. Back to policy for a moment. The EU has fined Temu €200 million, saying it failed to stop unsafe and illegal products from being sold on its platform. Brussels is making it clear that fast growth and cheap prices won't shield giant marketplaces from stricter enforcement. It's another sign Europe wants to set the rules for digital commerce, especially when Chinese-linked platforms are involved.
That pressure is only getting stronger. Regulators now want platforms to prove they can police themselves, not just apologize after the fact. A quick market check before we wrap. Asian stocks hit record highs, with Japan's Topix and South Korea's Kospi pushing upward despite the Iran tensions. That suggests investors are still in a risk-on mood, at least for now, and still willing to bet that growth and AI spending can overpower geopolitics.
Also in brief, Portugal just logged its hottest May day on record as a heat wave spreads across Europe, and U.S. officials are warning that military personnel were targeted through location data flows, adding fresh pressure on the ad-tech industry.
That's it for this morning's briefing.
Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you tomorrow with the stories that move fast and matter most.